Okay. Please, let's all have you grab a microphone. Great. So we don't have any slides. We're just doing a roundtable here.
You had enough slides.
That's enough slides for the moment. Nathan, 103 slides. Very impressive. Okay. Boy, that guy has a whole lot of energy. So here, going to be talking about expansion in Europe, strategies to scale up. I think this is really interesting. SaaS is growing around the world, and going to be really curious to hear what these people have to say about Europe and why to expand in Europe. And with that, let's start with that open question to all of you: why Europe? Take it. Whoever feels like taking that big question at first, why you perceive Europe as an important place to expand to, that'd be great.
Great opportunity.
Market.
Opportunity, innovation, different regulatory opportunities too for certain markets.
Okay.
Just to start.
Yeah, the size, 400 million consumers. It's a pretty good size of the market.
That is quite a few consumers, yes.
And because we're in Europe.
Because we're in Europe, okay.
Exactly. The closest, the better.
The closest, the better.
And try to succeed in Europe, you will succeed anywhere else.
So if you can make it here, you can make it anywhere. Really good. Good. Excuse me, I think I made a little faux pas here. Let me ask each one of you, your names are behind you, but let me ask you to introduce yourself and just give you a little bit of background. We'll start on my left here with you, Thomas.
Hello, I'm Thomas. I work for Choose Paris region. As the name says, I promote the Paris region as a place to set up to international companies. It's a beautiful job. My mission at Choose Paris region is to support especially AI, cybersecurity, quantum technology businesses, including digital services. This is a very exciting job because we have, and I will tell you why in a few minutes.
Okay, great. Piers?
My name is Per Jansson. I work at Business Sweden, which is the trade and invest organization for Sweden. And I also work to promote Sweden as a good market to establish for foreign companies, and also work as a program manager to support Swedish company globally as well. So that in short.
Okay.
Good morning. My name is Corjanne van Drimmelen. I'm head of talent at PSG Equity. PSG Equity is a growth fund. We invest in quite early stage. We write checks between 20 million to about 200 million across Europe. So we have funds specifically in Europe that are investing in Europe. And once we've acquired, we partner with our founders, with their management teams to help them grow, inorganic and organic. And I focus especially on the people part.
And good morning, everyone. I'm Julia, investor at Partech. We're a pan-European, pan-African fund with 3 billion under management. We do investments in all startups from pre-seed to late growth, so always an opportunity to meet. And I focus on Series A and B, especially at the stage where internationalization comes in. So super eager, to answer those questions.
Okay, great. Corjanne, and I hope I don't mispronounce your name too badly. I'm a big believer in people and the importance of having good people in key positions. So from that perspective, what are the key challenges of building a European organization or building in a new geographic location in Europe?
Yeah, I think with most companies, when they set up, they start in a region, and that's where you have your network. So you're surrounded by the people that help you build that. So the biggest challenge is if you expand internationally, that you need to work with different cultures, different backgrounds, and understand the local markets. I would also say, one of the first things that we look at, people are incredibly important, but also product market fit.
Okay. Oh, gosh, there's so many challenges, but those are big ones. I'm going to throw a question to Thomas here because he's our local representative here of the Paris region, and we are in Paris. So why build locally? Why build locally? I mean, you know, SaaS industry and technology, we still have dynamic organizations, and why not just build a distributed organization and offshore most of this?
I think the first element to have a local presence in a market is to, of course, show that you are committed to build your product accordingly to the local culture. The local culture meaning if you show buy now on your SaaS platform with a French customer, it won't work. It's not the way you have to talk to them. You have to be to adapt in every country your message to the audience. Of course, it can be done remotely, but it is easier when you have teams locally that knows how to adapt every day agilely the messages and access to talent. Of course, you can have remote developers, but you can't have excellent market developers without being on the field, meeting some of the early adopters, having some feedbacks. I think it's really the first reason.
Okay. I think I'm mispronouncing your name too, but Pera, what are the key factors you're seeing? What are successful companies doing? What are the key things for them scaling in Europe?
Well, it's a couple of things. As I see, Swedish company have scaled in Europe successfully. That is really to understand the difference between the regions and the different markets in Europe, to understand their differences, and then see that into your expansion strategy. And of course, Europe, you shouldn't take that in one piece. You should do that gradually. If we have seen a lot of successful companies do that gradually, and looking in maybe Nordics is very different from the Southern Europe or the DACH regions. And so you should have different strategies and doing that gradually and put that into your strategy. And then when you have decided that, I think the motivation could be going to larger markets, or it could be also to go to markets that is coherent from a culture perspective or language perspective. So it could be different motivations for going into that. And then, as Thomas said, I think it's really important to understand, the culture when you go in there and tap into the networks of that particular market. And that could be done in many cases doing partnerships with local companies successfully. So that's a few advices.
I think, statistically, the idea of expanding in Europe is a little daunting because not excluding, with the EU and other European countries, I think we're talking about 50 countries, 27 languages. So it's a little daunting. It's quite balkanized, and but there are 400 consumers. It's really too big to be ignored. Julia, when is a company ready to expand into Europe? Because please.
Yeah, I think first of all, you don't ever feel really ready. You might feel some kind of pull from the market, having your early customers from your home country bring you to other regions if you're selling to enterprise, for example. So having an early idea of which country you'll go to might help you feel ready. The second thing is you will need money to expand to other countries in Europe. And whenever you feel that the capital structure of your company is ready to take on more capital to go to Europe, then you'll go. You won't ever feel ready. You need to do it gradually, like do soft launches, and then once you're there, go all in, recruit, take time, and just you need to have your inner leadership really consolidated, because this will take some time off of focus from your home country. So go for it. Just be sure that you're still like a leader in your home country. Otherwise, this will be harder than it should have been.
Mm-hmm. A lot of companies that are successful expanding into the United States have a founder move to the United States. That's a very common model. Is that a similar thing in Europe? Do we see that? Is that a necessity, or do you perceive that as a necessity?
I see that every day, and I often say choose Paris region. not only welcome businesses but people as well. We help them settle in because they come with a family. They come with, they change their life for some years. So yes, I think it's very important to succeed also in bringing some good conditions to your employees going abroad.
Okay. I'd be curious, what are organizations when they get here, or the people behind them, so the CE levels, what are they most surprised by when they get to Europe, and what are the things that they're most pleased by, and what are the things that are maybe the most challenging for them?
Yeah, well, I think if we start with the challenging part, it's probably the culture and the diversity of the difference in Europe. If you compare to US, for example, which is pretty coherent. And the success, the positive things could be, a balance between life and work. You can probably, we have seen in Sweden that you can, balance your family life and build a unicorn at the same time. So we have a social structure for that, and that's something that we've seen founders coming in being very, very glad about.
Yeah. Having grown up in Silicon Valley, I think the work-life balance is definitely better in France. I can't speak to Sweden, but I think there's definitely something to be said for that. What are some, let's see, let's go back to Julia. How are they choosing which companies they expand to? What do you see the logic? You're coming, most of the companies you work with, are they European countries looking to expand to other European countries, or, okay?
Yes, I think it's a great question. I can talk to mostly French companies expanding elsewhere in Europe. You have many things. One is geographic-wise. You have a lot of companies that are just really sitting nearby. And for practical reasons, it's very easy to go to the UK. It's very easy to go to Germany from France. It's very easy to go to Spain. So this might be one reason, is choose a country that's pretty close, because it will be helpful when you go there. Second is, and it will obviously depend on which product you're building, the market depth that you have in each country. I think Europe, we're lucky to be a continent with a great number of people in a great number of countries, with great numbers of talents everywhere. But you need to choose. You can't expand to Europe just like that, like you were saying, I'm expanding to the US. You need to pace it, and you need to choose. And the third thing, which I think also goes to the limits of expanding to Europe, is also choose countries where there's an acquisitive market. When you're building a company, you might want to be acquired at some point. It could be PSG, it could be other strategics. If you're building in countries where there hasn't been acquisitions, where no one else, big players, are building as well, you're effectively reducing your chances of being acquired at some point. So this, I think, as well, one of the limits of Europe compared to going just straight to the US, is choose where other companies are doing business.
So, excuse me, but when I think of Europe and I think of organized capital markets, I tend to think of the bigger economies. So Germany, France, maybe Sweden as well, England. Is that right? Do you perceive it that way, or are the secondary markets as well, can they be included in that as far as capital organization?
I think they can be included as well. I think I'm seeing, at least for a lot of French companies, people start by going to Spain, Italy, Portugal, because culturally we're Southern Europe. Even though the stock market is maybe not in Madrid. And also, to my point, I'm thinking of selling to other countries, but expanding in Europe can also be expanding your tech team somewhere else, can be expanding outsourcing some of your talent elsewhere, and not particularly doing business there, or not as a first focus. So this also, goes into your decision of where is what you're doing there.
I think that's a good point, what Julia said as well, right? Sometimes it might even start with talent hubs, right? And then actually understanding that there is also a product fit for the market. And sometimes it's also restructuring at some stages, right? We're all looking to be efficient, right? So for some countries, the talent is easier to get in certain areas and might be less expensive for the certain growth you're going through.
Yeah, that's one of the things we're talking about. We were talking earlier about the difference between expanding into Europe and expanding in the U.S. And expanding into the U.S., one of the first thing founders face or C-levels face over in the U.S. is sticker shock, just from the difference in the price of the employees and also because of how labor markets are structured in Europe. I was kind of curious. I hadn't found any data on this, but about the loyalty of employees. I would think that employees might be a little bit more loyal in Europe and might jump ship a little bit. In the United States, it's a little bit more of a dog-eat-dog world, and if I can get a better situation, I may take that. So, but the sticker shock on the salaries is certainly a huge thing for people going to the U.S. and Europe for a comparable skill set. Sometimes you're talking about a fractional salary compared to the U.S. Any thoughts on that?
Especially on business developer profile, it's not comparable.
Yeah.
I think we offer also people who have a great background as technical skills. In Europe, the love for scientific excellence at any country in Europe can offer you very well trained people that don't sell themselves very expensively. You know, they could value this excellent knowledge, but they prefer to have a good work experience. So that's the challenge for you to offer. It's to offer a good company atmosphere and attract them also by that, not only by the salary.
Just we have seen in Sweden, the next generation of computing and with the AI power and a lot of investment coming from US in the data centers, and I think that's if you combine that with the skills and the cost of the skills, I think that makes it very attractive as well.
Mm. I think the centers of research that Europe has are great on the innovation side. I mean, we see a lot of the northern companies and the Baltic countries. There's so much innovation everywhere, actually. There's innovation. I mean, I live in Montpellier, and there's quite a bit of innovation. And then it's the capital. It's access to the capital. I think one of the things that's misunderstood and maybe underappreciated for people who are coming into Europe is the role of the state in Europe. And those services you guys provide. So maybe you, Thomas, and Per, you can talk about that a little bit about the role. I don't know, Per, if it's the same in Sweden, but there's so many services available to entrepreneurs.
Yes, service and support.
Oh.
Maybe people are afraid of tax rate in Europe, especially in France. I'm tackling a cliché here. Tax rate in France is the same as in Germany. It's the same as many countries for income tax on company. But what you get in exchange is a lot of support. To grow a company from scratch in France is really heaven to have subsidies and grants very early in the process. To have a lot of choice in terms of incubators. Just in Paris region, there are 250 incubation and acceleration programs. So you will find the one that fits to your industry. The support goes from, the very early stage to growth stage, thanks to the France, BPI France, Bank for Investment. This is public money, but invested like a private bank. So not the same kind of investor, not too interested in fast profit. That's really convenient. The support is equivalent to and much higher even to the tax you can pay on top of salaries, which once again are not high.
Yeah. I think, hold on, I just want to call attention to one thing, which is in addition to the corporate tax rate, which I was unfamiliar with, there's the issue also of in France, you have what they call the crédit recherche impôt. I think they have the equivalent in many countries. But for a lot of your R&D, you receive tax credits for your R&D. So early on, that really helps young companies that are looking to innovate and do things like that. What
and you receive this money in the research tax credit before you have incomes.
Yeah.
You can get money from the fiscal administration. It's cool.
But there is a little paperwork involved. I have filled out the paperwork, so it's not administrative free. Piers, what is this? Is it a similar system in Sweden? Do you have similar structures, or what is it like?
Yeah, it is. I think more or less the same. And the organization that we do, if you're interested in expanding into the Nordics, we can help you, tap into the networks and really help you with a lot of different things in establishing a company, finding the resources that you need, and tapping into the talent pool as well.
Yeah. Corjanne, you talked about the do's, a little bit about the importance of management being aligned, and that. What are some of the don'ts? What are the places where companies go wrong early on? Because I imagine there's thousands of pitfalls, but I'm sure you see some that people step into every time.
Yeah, I think we can't say enough. What got you here won't get you there, right? And I'm thinking also about what Nathan discussed earlier on, and he also started, have a clear vision, right? And provide that clarity to your team, but it does mean you need probably different people at different stages.
Okay.
And that is hard because, that creates, to what you said, a lot of people helped and worked hard with you at early stages. And it's difficult then to say, you were great up until this point, but we now need different experience, more advanced experience, international experience.
Yeah.
And it may be in addition to, but it's really the biggest. Think about it. What is it that you need to deliver your future?
Yeah.
And that might be different. It will be different to what it has up until so far.
So how do startup founders figure out, or how do founders figure out who they need? Because that is going into a new market, because that sounds like a huge pitfall just in of itself.
Yeah, talk to peers, right? The great thing is that you now have a number of people. Nathan, he's already give you a lot of cases, right? Contact them, learn from them, because they've got the experience that is just so helpful to you.
Yeah.
Obviously, we partner with our the companies that we invest in, right? And we have those conversations. But I can't emphasize enough how helpful it is to you to talk to peers about it.
Okay, that's great.
Networking, in any case, when you try to reach a new destination, network. I see successful entrepreneurs, especially in SaaS. They are used to work remotely and to develop things remotely. So I see the successful ones having first a series of maybe 10, 12 travels to their destination. It seems that Paris is often one of them. So I meet them, I start connecting them to the ecosystem, so they learn what is important for their business locally, what kind of partner they will need to succeed. It can be just administrative partners to tackle all the admin and legal stuff to enter the market. It can be some technical partners, some infrastructure partner, because cloud is key. So you want to have the GDPR compliant one, where if you try to improvise when you enter a market, these kind of steps, you will feel many trouble.
Yeah. I think you brought up a good point too, which we had this. We talked about this before, which is if you respect European GDPR requirements, you're pretty much good to go anywhere in the world, because there's some of the strictest requirements. So after that, in the United States, there's California, and then there's all the other states. But if you respect Europe, you're going to make it in California, and you should be fine to go there. Julia, would you add some don'ts? Do you have any don'ts that come up, recurring? Don't do this certain thing.
I think don't try and do everything all at once. test the market. Once you get the proof from the market itself, go for it.
Okay, so get validation before you put a lot of capital behind it and get everything moving. Okay, that's really interesting. It's clear to me a little bit of Thomas's and Per's role. It's a little less clear on PSG Equity and Partech. So I understand that you work on the human resources side, helping to find key personnel. At least I thought I understood that. But what other services do you guys provide, or to help companies integrate into Europe? What other things do they need?
So first of all, it is really working out, right, whether it makes sense to acquire a company. So we help with that a lot.
Okay.
So we do all the M&A for our companies. In fact, one of my colleagues who works a lot on that is sitting in the audience here, Amandine. So we provide that service once we've acquired, because you cannot do it all. You cannot continue to build your company and look for those opportunities, and we're set up to do that, right? So once we've found a good fit in a geography that you would like to do, then we help you to integrate. And from a people point of view, it is really establishing the roles, what roles are available if we actually decide to go and partner up and have a new add-on, is what we call them. Understanding the key talent, so we work with both parties and create a new organizational design of a way forward.
Oh, these are things that can take up a lot of time.
Absolutely.
Yeah, big statements of work and big needs assessments and everything else, and difficult to do on your own if you've never done them before. And Julia, is it the same things, or is it a little bit different?
So we have different investment strategies from PSG. What we do is we bring in equity and don't necessarily go into the build-up phase, where we'll help founders go abroad, especially in Europe, is, well, one, connect them with other founders that have done it as well. Within our portfolio, that's more than 200 companies, so you'll always find someone that's been there. Second, we'll help them with HR, finding either the right headhunters for the right countries or just finding the right people that have been there, and creating with them the way forward on their path. Usually, and as I said before, we're investing because companies want to extend to other countries. So we are building the plan with them to do that as well. That's mostly it, but as I think Thomas said, network, as Corjanne said, talking to peers. This is what we can do as a catalyzer of everything as an investor. We've seen people, one other part as well being, we're created in the US, but we're very pan-European with an office in Paris, an office in London, an office in Milan, an office in Berlin. And so these people sitting in those offices can obviously connect you with the right people everywhere.
Oh. I think it's really interesting. I think we all agree on one thing for certain, that networking and listening are superpowers. Just a quick anecdote here. I've been living in France for over 20 years. I speak French fluently. I still consider myself a cultural illiterate as far as French. There's a lot to know about the culture, and I think it's really useful because it's easy. People are very understanding, but it's easy to misunderstand things, and sometimes they can
make the move to a different culture. Make the move. Try like you did. It's so. I feel really humble when I see someone trying to speak my language.
Yeah.
It's the same for everyone. Yes, but as a company owner, make the move. Try to get close. Learn the basics.
Yeah. That's a good point. And of course, the French, they love you. I'm sure it's the same in Sweden. The French, they love you. If you show a little interest in their culture, they just love that. Why Sweden? There's a lot of, I don't know Northern European as well as I would like, but there's a lot of opportunities there. What sets Sweden out?
Well, Well, first of all, maybe not be the market size because we're kind of a small market, we're like 10 million people. But if you look at the Nordics, many people go to Stockholm and Sweden and expand into the Nordic and the Baltic areas. So then we're talking about the fifth largest economy in Europe. So that's fairly good. And then, of course, we are one of the most digital mature markets in the world. So if you're interested in testing new services, we have a very high adoption rate of innovative services. It's kind of a small market, very high digital maturity. You can test things. If it works in the Nordics, it's going to fly in the rest of Europe. And one other thing, I think we are quite mature within the sustainability and impact and climate tech area. So kind of tech intersection with this sustainability and tech. We are building up. We saw that last year, 75% of all the VC investment was for impact startups. So we're kind of building a very strong tech ecosystem for impact startups in the Nordics. And I think that's been driven also by the government, and then we see that their high ambition within this sector is. So if you have an impact startup, there's a lot of investors and a lot of things going on in our tech ecosystem.
Okay, interesting. Product fit and ESG and ecology. That's really interesting. Really hopeful for those sectors for the ESG work. Do any of you, did I omit any questions or anything that you'd like to bring up that you feel strong about? No, we covered it. It's not possible we covered everything. Corjanne?
No, you can never cover this because it is exciting and it's also challenging. Go back to founders moving. So we've done it in some cases. I also think what is incredibly important is understanding. They need to understand what their role is and play with their strength. So sometimes it might be really important to stay in your country because of, and Nathan referred to that one as well, because of your network and your brand locally, but therefore you can hire, right, another experienced person to help you expand in that other country. We often try as much as possible to, when it comes to what we call the C-suite, to have quite an international C-suite. So people come from different countries with those different experiences.
Yeah, I don't know if you were all here for Nathan's talk, but one of the things he was talking about was the founder brand. And I think that's one of the reasons why it's so important for one founder to go to the country or the region. Because even if he's not selling directly to people, his narrative, his brand is helping establish the credibility, and it's also helping for the network and everything else. So that's such a critical part of that. So that's a good point. And I also think is that if his brand is successful then, and they start to see momentum, then what Julia was talking about and talking about product fit, if they see product fit, they start to see that they're building momentum, then a lot of the secondary investments that need to be made are more easily justified to the board and to everyone else. Because we are often talking about significant amounts of money. And so there's some perceived risk there and some other things. Any other comments before we wrap up?
I like to say, come for the business, but stay for life, quality of life.
Yeah.
Europe is offering that. That was the first saying from Per. I totally believe that we offer quality of life on top of excellent business opportunities. And if you want to have more in-depth analysis from specialists, there is an excellent workshop a few minutes ago. This will be how to scale your operation, the scale-up journey. So it's in junior stage.
Okay, junior stage. What time is that?
In 30 minutes.
In 30 minutes. So if you want to learn about, or actually do some exercises about scaling up your business and see what other people do, please go there. Any other final comments?
No, I'm looking forward to the activity that the data single market in the European Union and looking for example, cross-border payment and solve these things that you don't have to have bank accounts in several countries. And looking forward to that you will solve that, and it will be much easier to scale throughout Europe as well.
Yeah. Sorry, please, Corjanne.
Yeah, no, I was going to. A lot of people shy away from talking to people like Partech and PSG because they feel it's too early. But I think it's important to build the relationship and view this as a long-term relationship as well.
You might save them some time and pain early on too by.
Yes,
it's possible.
We'll try.
Okay.
To this point as well, I think if you want to be an international company at some point, it needs to be from the very beginning, because there's always your CRM is in French or in Spanish, but what do you do when you have international employees? And this is something you need to think of as part of your culture.
Yeah. So we're all in agreement right here. Everything should be in English, right? Sorry, just had to do that just then. All right. Well, listen, thank you all very much. I think you'll all be around through the course of the day, so if you'd like to reach out to any of them, they should be up and around and to do that. And we're going to take a 30-minute break, and then we'll be coming back with the next session.